Hi, my name is Oleg. I'm going to share with you today the Citizen's Almanac that I received when I got my citizenship from the United States of America about a year and a half ago. A citizen, an almanac. Well, I wanted to share this tidbit about a farmer's almanac. A farmer's almanac was created a long time ago. It was designed for farmers, by farmers, to share information in regards to crops. Sorry, poor explanation. It was a detailed instruction. It was. How do I explain an almanac? It had a lot of information about what types of crops might grow or will grow in a certain region or an area based off the experiences of the farmers. And that's the way it works when you grow stuff, when you grow food, vegetables, fruits, depending on the sun, the quality of the soil, the region. It's very complicated, but all different things grow in different areas. And it was just a guide. When it rained, how often it rained, based off the observed experiences. There's no way to be able to predict weather up to 100%, but based off experiences, you can make a reasonable, educated guess on when it might rain. So, back to the Citizen's Almanac. It's going to be really long. This is provided by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. This is the M76 revision, revision 0708. So this was written in 2008, the 7th month being July. The first page, we have a photo of, I'll read this and I'll try to figure out what the photo is. In 1876, to commemorate 100 years of independence from the Great Britain, Archibald M. Woolard presented his painting, Spirit of 76, at the U.S. Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia, PA. The painting depicts 3 generations of Americans fighting for their new nation's freedom, one of whom is marching along through a slightly wounded battle. Woolard's powerful portrayal of the strength and determination of the American people in the face of overwhelming odds inspired millions. The painting quickly became one of the most popular patriotic images in American history. The depiction of courage and character still resonates today as the spirit of 76 lives on in our newest Americans. I didn't know this. Wow, this is strong. Here's a little close-up. The Citizen's Almanac, fundamental documents, symbols, and anthems of the United States. Here's the message from the director. Today you are a citizen of the United States of America, becoming a peer of kings, as President Calvin Coolidge once said. This occasion is a defining moment that should not soon be forgotten, for it marks the beginning of a new era in your lifetime as a U.S. citizen. Naturalized citizens are an important part of our great democracy, bringing wealth of talent, ability, and character to this nation. Your fellow citizens recognize the sacrifices you have made to reach this milestone, and with open arms we welcome you. The United States offers an abundance of freedom and opportunity for all its citizens, and we wish you all the best along the way. As you read in this booklet, Citizen's Almanac, naturalized citizens have played an important role in shaping this country. From Alexander Hamilton to Albert Einstein, foreign-born Americans have contributed to all aspects of society: literature, motion pictures, public service, and athletics, to name just a few. As a citizen of the United States, it is now your turn to add to this great legacy. This is strong. This is a very powerful stuff here. For more than 200 years, we have been bound by the principles and ideals expressed in our founding documents, but it is up to the citizens like you to carry on this legacy for the future generations. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, there's a misspelling here. I hope they didn't make too many copies. it says, upon taking he instead of the, you claim for yourself the God-given alienable rights that the Declaration of Independence sets forth as a natural right to all people. You also made a commitment to this country, and we therefore awarded it its highest privilege, a U.S. citizenship. But great responsibilities accompany this privilege. With great power comes great responsibility. You now have certain rights and responsibilities that you must exercise in order to maintain our system of government. By becoming an active and participatory citizen, you further strengthen the foundation of our nation. The United States of America is now your country, and the Citizens' Almanac contains information on history, people, and events that have brought us to where we are today as a beacon of hope and freedom to the world. We hope the contents of this booklet will serve as a constant reminder of the important rights and responsibilities you now have as a U.S. citizen. By continuing to learn about your new country, its founding ideals, achievements, and history, you will enjoy the fruits of responsible citizenship for years to come. Through your efforts, the freedom and liberty of future generations will be preserved and ensured. May you find fulfillment and success in all your endeavors as a citizen of this great nation. Congratulations and welcome. May the United States of America provide you peace, opportunity, and security. Wow, this is some really stuff from this was written from the director of this agency. This is some, like, might be a really nice guy. I should look for his name, maybe. I should try to contact him. The citizenship in America. Rights and responsibilities of U.S. citizens. All people in the United States have the basic freedoms and protections outlined in our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. For more than 200 years, we have been bound by the ideals expressed in these documents. Because of these ideals, our society has prospered. The U.S. government, as established in the Constitution, protects the rights of each individual. There's just a footnote for the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All right, back to this. Protects the rights of each individual without regard to background, culture, or religion. To keep our system of representative democracy and individual freedom, you should strive to become an active participant in American civic life. When you took the oath of allegiance, you promised your loyalty and allegiance to the United States of America. You now have other rights and responsibilities only given to the United States citizens. These include the right to vote in federal elections, the ability to serve on a jury. Citizenship is a privilege that offers you the extraordinary opportunity to be a part of the governing process, the strength of the United States as in the will of its citizens. Former Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis once said, "The only title in our democracy superior to that of the president is the title of citizen." In the United States, the power of the government comes directly from the people like you. To protect freedom and liberty, U.S. citizens must participate in the democratic process and their communities. I just have, you know what, I'll read the second page and I'll show you the photo. The following is a list of some of the most important rights and responsibilities that all citizens should exercise and respect. We encourage you to read the Constitution to learn more about all of the rights and responsibilities of the United States citizenship. Rights of a citizen. Freedom to express yourself. That's the First Amendment. Freedom of expression includes, they don't have it listed here as the first. Let me just make a modification to this. They should really list them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. I'm pretty sure the first one is your freedom of expression, your freedom of, you know, freedom of expression includes several individual rights. It includes the freedom of speech, freedom to peacefully assemble, and the freedom to petition the government for a redress of grievances. In a representative democracy, individual beliefs and opinions are important to our national dialogue and necessary to maintain responsible citizenry. You see the word citizenry? Very nice word. Americans can speak and act as they wish as long as it does not endanger others or obstruct another's freedom of expression in the process. And let me just show you the photos now. This is the adopted son of a U.S. serviceman becomes a U.S. citizen in the U.S. District Court, Madison, Wisconsin, May 28th, 1971. Here is another photo. You might want to pause every time you see a photo and you want to just examine it. There's some really nice photos like this. Early 20th century immigrants. And then here, there's another one. And that was in 1963, nearly 250,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C. to speak out against segregation and petition for equal rights for all Americans. Okay, now we're going to move on to our Second Amendment. The freedom to worship as you wish. In the United States, the freedom to hold any religious beliefs or none at all is considered a basic, unalienable right. The government cannot violate this right. Religious intolerance is unacceptable in a society where everyone, where in a society where everyone has individual freedom. In cases where religious practices hurt the common good or endanger the health of others, the Supreme Court has imposed minor limitations on the way some religious practices are performed. 3. The right to a prompt, fair trial by jury. People accused of a crime have the right to a speedy and fair trial by a jury of peers. In a free society, those accused of a crime are assumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The American system of justice treats all people fairly, ensuring the rights of the individual are maintained. 4. The right to keep and bear arms. The Constitution protects the rights of individuals to have firearms for personal defense. This privilege is subject to reasonable restrictions designed to prevent unfit persons or those with the intent to criminally misuse guns or other firearms from obtaining such items. The right to vote in elections for public officials. By voting in federal, state, and local elections, citizens choose their government leaders. The right to vote is one of the most important liberties granted to American citizens. It is the foundation of a free society. The right to apply for federal employment. Public service is a worthy endeavor and can lead to an extremely rewarding career working for the American people. Many federal government jobs require applicants to have a U.S. citizenship. As a U.S. citizen, you can apply for federal employment within a government agency or department. Right to run for elected office. U.S. citizenship is required for many elected offices in this country. Naturalized U.S. citizens can run for any elected office they choose, with the exception of the President and the Vice President of the United States, which requires candidates to be native-born citizens. Freedom to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As a society based on individual freedom, it is the inherent right of all Americans to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The United States is a land of opportunity. People are able to choose their own path in life based on personal goals and objectives. Americans can make their own decisions and pursue their own interests as long as it does not interfere with the rights of others. Responsibilities of a citizen. Now we're going on to a different thing here. Support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The Constitution establishes the U.S. system of representative democracy and outlines the inherent principles of freedom, liberty, and opportunity to which all citizens are entitled. The continuity of this nation's unique freedoms depends on the support of its citizens. When the Constitution and its ideals are challenged, citizens must defend these principles against all adversaries. Here's another photo. It's a photo of two women holding up a sign. Signatures of NY New York State women who want to vote. And until 1920, women were not allowed to vote in political elections. This image shows two women known as suffragettes petitioning for the right to vote in New York State. Next part. Stay informed of these issues affecting your community. Before casting your vote in an election, be sure to gain information about the issues and candidates running for office. Staying informed allows the citizens the opportunity to keep the candidates and laws responsive to the needs of the local community. Participate in the democratic process. Voting in federal, state, and local elections is the most important responsibility of any citizen. Voting ensures that our system of government is maintained and individual voices are clearly heard by our elected officials. Respect and obey federal, state, and local laws. Laws are rules of conduct that are established by an authority and followed by the community to maintain order in a free society. Every person living in the United States must follow the laws established through federal, state, and local authorities. Respect the rights, beliefs, and opinions of others. Though the United States is a nation of diverse backgrounds and cultures, our common civic values unite us as one nation. Tolerance through courtesy and respect for the beliefs and opinions of others is the hallmark of a civilized society and ensures the continuity of liberty and freedom for future generations. Participate in your local community. Being a responsible member in one of our local community is important to the success of representative democracy. Community engagement through volunteerism, participation in town hall meetings and public hearings, joining a local parent-teacher association, and running for public office are ways individuals can actively contribute to the well-being of the community. Pay income and other taxes honestly and on time to the federal, state, and local authorities. Taxes pay for government services for the people of the United States. Some of these services include educating children and adults, keeping our country safe and secure, providing medical services to the elderly and less fortunate. Paying taxes on time and in full ensures that these services continue for all Americans. Serve on a jury when called upon. Serving on a jury is a very important service to your community. In the United States, the Constitution guarantees that all persons accused of a crime have the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury. Jury service gives you the opportunity to participate in the vital task of achieving just, fair results in the matter that come before the court. Show you some pictures. I'll just show you the pictures and then I'll the picture with the man. A citizen cast his vote in Barnesville, Maryland, 1944. The bottom left one is Red Cross volunteer poster, America's answer to humanity's challenge. The third one, volunteers tutoring children at the South Baton Rouge Community Development Association in Louisiana. Louisiana. During World War I, 300 soldiers from Camp Upton in New York State take the oath of allegiance as a result of a law granting U.S. citizenship to immigrants in the armed forces. Defend the country if the need should arise. The armed forces of the United States, the military, is currently an all-volunteer force. However, should the need arise in a time of war, it is important that all citizens join together and assist the nation where they are able. This support could include defending the nation through the military, non-combatant, or civilian service. This is a nice photo. Mm. I wonder, a photo like this, these guys would end up in a booklet like this. It reads, a World War II B-24 bomber crew at their base in Nadzab, New Guinea, following a mission in 1944. And it's the courtesy of the Maloney family. Are some of these photos courtesy? Yeah, they're courtesy photos. Okay. Let me just back up a little bit. There's courtesy of Library of Congress. I guess I'll do it from this point on. I'll point that out. We're going on to Chapter 2 now, Patriotic Anthems and Symbols of the United States. Beginning early in our nation's history, citizens have used songs, poems, and symbols to express the ideals and values of the United States. From solemn oaths, such as the Pledge of Allegiance and the Oath of Allegiance, which one must take to become a citizen, to the more informal tradition of singing the Star-Spangled Banner before sporting events, spoken expressions have always been an important part in American civic life. As you will learn in this section, these songs and poems often came from a writer's personal interpretation of America's ideals, as with the story of Emma Lazarus, the New Colossus. The values, and I never heard of this, Emma Lazarus and the New Colossus. The values and history of the United States are also expressed throughout visual symbols such as the Great Seal of the United States and the flag of the United States of America. Around the world, these two emblems are used to symbol our solidarity as a nation. As a U.S. citizen, you can take pride in these symbols and the fact that they represent you and your country. The following section will introduce you to the history and meaning behind some of our most important patriotic anthems and symbols. The Star-Spangled Banner, 1814, by Francis Scott Key. The Star-Spangled Banner is the national anthem of the United States. It was written by Francis Scott Key after a critical battle in the War of 1812. Key, a lawyer and amateur poet, had been sent to Baltimore, Maryland to secure the release of Dr. William Venus, an American taken prisoner by the British. Boarding a ship for the negotiations, Key was treated with respect by the British officers who agreed to release Dr. Beans. Although the mission was completed, the British were about to attack Fort McHenry, the American fort guarding Baltimore, and so they did not allow the Americans to return to shore. For 25 hours, the British gunboats shelled Fort McHenry. The Americans withstood the attack, and on the morning of September 14, 1814, Key peered through the clearing smoke to see an enormous American flag waving proudly above the fort. Key was so inspired by the sight of the American flag that he began a poem to commemorate the occasion. He wrote the poem to be sung to the popular British song "To Anacreon in Heaven." The photo on the left reads "The Star-Spangled Banner," the flag that inspired the national anthem, courtesy of National Museum of American History, Smithsonian Institution. And then we have the second photo. In The Star-Spangled Banner, painting by Percy Moore and Francis Scott Key, reaches out towards the flag flying over Fort McHenry, courtesy of the Library of Congress. The significance and the significance and popularity of the song spread across the United States. In 1916, the President Woodrow Wilson ordered that the song be played at military and naval occasions. In 1931, the Star-Spangled Banner became the official national anthem of the United States. And then here's the Star-Spangled Banner. Let me see if you can see it. I don't know. No, I'll read it and try to sing it. The Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? I don't have all the tune to it. What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and the bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched, we so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, there, the land of the free and home of the brave. It might actually sound better if it's said like that. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. It's just that some of the words here, they're not written as words. They're written as, I don't know how they're written, but I never knew that because I only heard this song people sing. But it's written really differently. America the Beautiful by Catherine Lee Bratz, 1893. America the Beautiful was written in 1893 by Catherine Lee Bates, a professor of English literature at the Wellesley College in Massachusetts. Bates wrote the lyrics while on a trip to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Describing the extraordinary view at the top of the Pike Peak, she said, "It was then and there, as I was looking out over the sea like an expanse of fertile country spreading away so far under those ample skies, that the opening lines of the hymn floated onto my mind." Is this a poem? It sounds really nice. Yeah, it was then and there, as I was looking out over the sea-like expanse of fertile country, spreading away so far under those ample skies, that the opening lines of the hymn floated into my mind. On July 4th, 1895, America the Beautiful first appeared in print in Congregationalist. I'm reading this and I'm thinking of Craigslist because the G in this, a weekly journal. A few months later, the lyrics were set to music by Silas G. Pratt. Bates revised the lyrics in 1904 after receiving many requests to use the song in publications and special services. In 1913, Bates made an additional change to the wording of the third verse, creating the version we know today. For several years, America the Beautiful was sung to just about any popular or folk tune that would fit with the lyrics. In 1926, the National Federation of Music Clubs held a contest to put the poem to music, but failed to select the winner. Today, America the Beautiful is sung by Samuel A. Ward's 1882 melody Materna. And here's the photo. I guess that she saw, that inspired her to write the lyrics for this song that I've never heard of. Maybe I did. Maybe I heard this song. We have it right here. America the Beautiful. No, I heard this song. I didn't know that was the name of it. America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties. Above the fruited plain, America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. O beautiful for pilgrim feet, whose stern impassioned stress, thor- a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. O beautiful for heroes proved, in liberating strive, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than love, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every grain divine. O beautiful for patriot dream, that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Pretty good. God Bless America by Irving Berlin, 1939. Irving Berlin, a Russian immigrant who became a naturalized U.S. citizen in 1918, wrote the song God Bless America while serving in the U.S. Army. Originally, originally composed for a review, musical review, Berlin made a few slight alterations to the lyrics and introduced the song in 1938. Singer Kate Smith sang the song for the first time to a national audience during her radio broadcast on November 11, 1938, in honor of Armistice Day, now Veterans Day. The song became popular almost immediately, and soon after its introduction, Berlin established the God Bless America Fund, which he dedicated the royalties from the song to the Boy and Girl Scouts of America. God Bless America is recognized today as America's unofficial national anthem. Wow, written by a Russian. I'm a Russian. Um, God Bless America. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear the allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in the solemn prayer. God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. Wow, I got some chills. I got some chills from that. You have a photo here of the Boy and Girl Scouts March and Armistice Day Parade, 1940. I Hear America Singing, from Leaves of Grass, 1860 edition, by Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman, who lived from 1819 to 1892, is one of the most influential and beloved of American poets. As a young man, Whitman worked as a teacher in the one-room schools, as a teacher in one-room schools on Long Island, New York. He taught until 1841, when he decided to begin a full-time career in journalism. Whitman established the Long Islander, a weekly newspaper in New York, and often edited other newspapers in the surrounding area. He also spent time in New Orleans, Louisiana, and Washington, D.C., By traveling to different cities in the United States, Whitman was exposed to how Americans lived in the variety of places. These experiences provided inspiration for some of Whitman's famous poems about his fellow countrymen, including I Hear America Singing. This poem was included in Whitman's most cherished work, the poetry collection Leaves of Grass. Through his life, Whitman produced several editions of Leaves of Grass, a varied collection that began with only 12 poems in the 1855 first edition and contained nearly 400 poems by the time the final edition was published in 1891. I Hear America Singing, a celebration of American people, was added to the collection in 1860. I Hear America Singing. I hear America singing, the varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing his as it should be, blithe and strong. The carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam. The mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work. The boatman singing what belongs to him in his boat. The deckhand singing on the steamboat deck. The shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench. The hatter singing as he stands. The woodcutter's song. The plowboy's on his way in the morning, or at noon, intermission, or at sundown. The delicious singing of the mother, or of the young wife at work, or of the girl sewing or washing. Each singing what belongs to him or her and no one else. The day what belongs to the day. At night the party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong melodious songs. There's some interesting thought here. Here's a photo of Walt Whitman. Concord Hymn by Ralph Waldo Emerson, 1837. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a celebrated American author, poet, philosopher, and public speaker. He became the leader of the famous intellectual movement known as the Transcendentalism. Emerson has strong ties to the beginning of America's fight for independence. His grandfather was present at the opening battle of the American Revolution, the Battle of Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts on April 19, 1775. His family home was also located next to the battlefield site. Concord Hymn was written originally as a song for the dedication of the obelisk, a monument commemorating the valiant effort of those who fought in the Battle of Lexington and Concord. The gunshot which began this battle is considered the beginning of America's fight for independence, and is referred to by Emerson as the shot heard around the world. This phrase has since become famous and is often used in discussions of the American Revolution. The Concord Hymn, H-Y-M-N. So, okay. By the rude bridge that arced the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled, here once the embattled farmer stood, and fired the shot heard around the world. The foe long since in silence slept, alike the conqueror silent sleeps, and time the ruined bridge has swept down the dark stream which seaward creeps on this green bank by the soft stream. We set today a votive stone, that memory may their deed redeem, when like our sires, our sons are gone. Spirit that made those heroes dare to die and leave their children free, bid time and nature gently spare, the shaft be raised to them and thee. And there's a photo here of an obelisk at the battlefield in Concord, Massachusetts. I think I already showed that, I'm sorry. The New Colossus, 1883, by Emma Lazarus. As part of an auction held in 1883 to raise funds for a pedestal to be placed beneath the Statue of Liberty, which was a gift to America from France as a part of a centennial celebration of 1876, Emma Lazarus wrote The New Colossus. Her poem spoke to the millions of immigrants who came to America in search of freedom and opportunity. She saw the new statue as a symbol of hope and inspiration to the world. In 1902, the poem was engraved in a bronze plaque at the base of the Statue of Liberty. The New Colossus, not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here, at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lighting, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pump, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses earning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Huh. It does. Now I see where this comes from. I never knew that. Hag of the United States of America. Oh, the flag, not the hag. As America fought for its independence from Great Britain, it soon became evident that the new nation needed a flag of its own to identify American forts and ships. A design of 13 alternating red and white stripes and 13 stars in the blue field was accepted by the Continental Congress on June 14, 1777. These stars and stripes honored the 13 states that had joined together to form the United States. As the United States expanded, however, more states were added to the Union to celebrate the nation's growth. Congress decided that the flag should become a visible symbol of change and established that the American flag would have one star for every state. The design of the American flag had changed 27 times, and since 1959, it had 50 stars and 13 stripes. The American flag is called the Star-Spangled Banner. The stars and the stars and stripes, the red, white, and blue, and Old Glory. To emphasize the importance of the American flag to the nation and its people, Congress established June 14th of each year as Flag Day. On this day, Americans take special notice of the flag and reflect on its meaning. And here's the photo of the original flag, which is indicated here by only having 13 stars. You're looking at it, yep. And then the new flag. The Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance was first published on September 8, 1892. In the Youth's Companion magazine, the original pledge reads as follows: I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Children in public schools across the country recited the pledge for the first time on October 12, 1892, as part of the official Columbus Day observances to celebrate the 400th anniversary of his discovery of America. In 1942, by an official act, Congress recognized the pledge. The phrase "under God" was added to the pledge by another act of Congress on June 14, 1954. Upon signing the legislation to authorize the addition, President Dwight D. Eisenhower said, "In this way, we are reaffirming the transcendence of religious faith in America's heritage and future. In this way, we shall constantly strengthen those spiritual weapons which forever will be our country's most powerful resource in peace and war." When delivering the Pledge of Allegiance, all must be standing at attention, facing the flag with the right hand over the heart. Men not in uniform should remove any non-religious headdress with their right hand and hold it at the left shoulder. The hand being over the heart, those in uniform should remain silent, face the flag, and render the military salute. And here's some photos. The Great Seal of the United States. On July 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress appointed a committee to create the seal for the United States of America. Following the appointment of two additional committees, each building upon the other, the Great Seal was finalized and approved on June 20th, 1782. That's my birthday. The Great Seal has two sides: an observance or front side, and a reverse side. The Great Seal has two sides: an obverse or front side and a reverse side. The obverse side displays a bald eagle, the national bird in the center. The bald eagle holds a scroll inscribed "E pluribus unum" on its beak. The phrase means "out of many, one" in Latin, and signifies one nation that was created from 13 separate colonies. In one of the eagle's claws is an olive branch, and in another is a bundle of 13 arrows. The olive branch signifies peace, and the arrows signify war. A shield with 13 red and white stripes cover the eagle's breast. The eagle alone supports the shield to signify that Americans should rely on their own virtue and not that of other nations. The red and white stripes of shield represent the states united under and supporting the blue, representing the President and Congress. The color red signifies valor and bravery, and the color white signifies purity and innocence, and the color blue signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Above the eagle's head is a cloud that surrounds a blue field containing 13 stars, which form a constellation. The constellation represents the fact that the new nation is taking its place among the sovereign powers. The reverse side contains a 13-step pyramid with the year 1776 in Roman numerals at its base. Above the pyramid is the Eye of Providence and the motto "Anut Coeptis," meaning "He, God, favors our undertakings." Below the pyramid, Novus Ordo Seclorum, meaning "New Order of the Ages," is written on a scroll to signify the beginning of the new American era. The obverse side of the Great Seal is used on postage stamps, the military uniforms, U.S. passports, and above the doors of U.S. embassies worldwide. Both sides are present on the $1 bill. Let me just show you what we read. And then the motto of the United States. On July 30th, 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower approved a joint resolution of the 1884th Congress officially establishing the phrase, "In God We Trust," as the national motto of the United States. "In God We Trust" replaced the phrase "E pluribus unum," which has been selected as the nation's official motto in 1776. The motto, "In God We Trust," can be traced back nearly 200 years in U.S. history, during the War of 1812, as the morning light revealed that the American flag was still waving above Fort McHenry. Francis Scott Key wrote the poem that would eventually become our national anthem. The final stanza of the poem read, "And this be our motto, in God is, is our trust." In 1864, Key's phrase was changed to, "In God We Trust," and included on the redesigned 2-cent coin. The following year, Congress authorized the director of the Philadelphia Mint to place the motto on all gold and silver coins. The motto began appearing on all U.S. coins in 1938. "In God We Trust" became a part of the design of U.S. currency, paper money. In 1957, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing has incorporated the motto in all currency since 1963. "In God We Trust" is also engraved on the wall above the Speaker's dais in the chamber of the House of Representatives and over the entrance to the chamber of the Senate. Presidential and historical speeches. People in the United States greatly value their current and historical leaders. Following our democratic tradition, these leaders are remembered not only for their actions, but also for their speeches and proclamations to the American people. Beginning with President George Washington's call for unity in his 1796 farewell address, American leaders often emphasized similar themes when addressing the nation. President Abraham Lincoln perhaps best expressed the concept of unity and a common civic identity during the American Civil War, when our nation's unity was severely threatened. Lincoln's speeches are also famous for referring to America with its values and democratic system as an important example for the rest of the world. Much later, Presidents Franklin D. Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy called upon these same ideas in important speeches during times of crisis, and President Ronald Reagan was clearly inspired by these principles in his call for freedom around the world during the Cold War. In this section, you will also read about a leader who, rather than looking outside our borders, called on America itself to live up to its promise as a land of as called on America itself to live up to its promise as a land of liberty and equality. Here's a photo. Farewell Address, 1796, George Washington. He was the first president. After leading the Continental Army to victory over British during the American Revolution, George Washington was the obvious choice to become the first president of the United States. Known as the father of our country, Washington performed honorably during his 2 terms as president in helping form the new government and guiding the young country through several foreign and domestic crises. Early in the year 1796, Washington decided not to seek re-election for a 3rd time and began drafting a farewell address to the American people. With the help of Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton, Washington completed his farewell address, and the final version was printed in Philadelphia's American Daily Advertiser on September 19, 1796. Washington was concerned that increasing geographical sectionalism and the rise of political factions would threaten the stability of the 8-year-old Constitution, and he used his address to urge Americans to unite for the long-term success of the nation. He called for a distinctly American character that concentrated on good of the country and would avoid potentially troublesome alliances with foreign nations. On February 22, 1862, when America was engulfed in the Civil War, Both houses of the U.S. Congress agreed to assemble and read aloud Washington's farewell address. This practice was later revived and performed annually by both houses of Congress. Since 1893, the U.S. Senate has observed our first president's birthday by selecting one of its members to read aloud Washington's farewell address from the Senate floor. And this is excerpts. So this is a part of the speech. Citizens, by birth or choice, of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism, more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. With slight shades of difference, you have the same religion, manners, habits, and political principles. You have, in common cause, fought and triumphed together. The independence and liberty you possess are the work of joint councils and joint efforts, of common dangers, sufferings, and successes. It is substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. The rule, indeed, extends with more or less force to every species of free government. Who that is a sincere friend to it can look with no indifference upon attempts to shake the foundation of the fabric. Promote, then, as an object of primary importance, institutions for the general diffusion of knowledge. In proportion as a structure of government gives force to public opinion, it is essential that the public opinion should be enlightened. I like what he wrote here. This was a time where it was impossible to have somebody else write this other than George Washington. Oh, here's some photos. This is the popular photo of George Washington sailing across the Delaware. And then here's another photo. Yep. First inaugural address, 1861. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was sworn in as the 16th President of the United States on March 4th, 1861. This was a difficult time in our nation's history. The issues of how much control the federal government should have over the states and whether to permit slavery in the newly acquired Western territories divided the Union. In December 1860, shortly after Lincoln's election was declared final, the state of South Carolina seceded from the Union. By February 1861, 6 additional states seceded and formed the Confederate States of America under Provisional President Jefferson Davis. In an effort to calm the fears of the Southern states, Lincoln turned to 4 historic documents when preparing his inaugural remarks. Each of these references were concerned with states' rights. Daniel Webster's 1830 reply to Robert Y. Hayne, President Andrew Jackson's nullification proclamation of 1832, Henry Clay's compromise speech of 1850, and the Constitution of the United States. Lincoln believed that secession was illegal, and as a chief executive, it was his responsibility to preserve the Union. The resulting speech was a message of unity to a troubled nation. Excerpts. So this is a part of the speech. By the frame of the government under which we live, this same people have wisely given their public servants but little power for mischief, and have, with equal wisdom, provided for the return of that little to their own hands at very short intervals. While the people retain their virtue and vigilance, no administration by any extreme or wickedness or folly can very seriously While the people retain their virtue and vigilance, no administration by any extreme of wickedness or folly can very seriously injure the government in a short space of 4 years. I am loath to close. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield, the patriot grave to every living heart and heartstone, all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union, when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. This is a photo of Abraham Lincoln. And then this is the photo of, this is his inauguration. I'm going to take a little break. I've been doing this for about an hour now. Okay. It might be like 2 breaks at some point. I mean, I'm going to done for now. There's a second part. Second part.